Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mexico City. On this episode of the Hidden Pearls podcast, the crew is in Cabo, and then today we're actually in Mexico City. We got in last night for the 49ers game. This is the first international game that we have ever attended or that George has ever played in, and so we are through the moon right now. We've been having such a great time. All of us are we love Mexican culture. The food, the music, the vibes, the beach, just the livelihood, the color, the passion, the sass, everything. And to be a part of it in this way and to get to see Mexico City. This is my first time in Mexico City. This is really all of our first times in Mexico City. And to see it this way is such a gift. And today we're about to head out and go adventure. So very excited for all the things. On this episode of the Hidden Pearls podcast, we have a very exciting guest on. His name is Brian Bowen Smith, and he is a very, very famous photographer. And the whole theme of this podcast is really on the art of life and doing something that is important in that moment, so that you can really find your ground and find your place in this world. And Brian, like I said, is a photographer. We share his story of pretty much raising himself with his brothers in New York City, how he got to California, some different big mental challenges that he had to overcome, and how through all of that, his zest and passion for life and connections and just making people feel and look the most beautiful that they can has really set him on a path to the stars. And now he is a photographer for some very, very famous stars, which you're going to hear all about. Brian is also one of the co-creators of Casa del Sol Tequila, and it is a tequila brand that our family is invested in, but also we love to drink it. So it's a win-win for us. And just watching Brian build this from the ground up with his incredible team, who happens to be mostly women, and we get into that also. But just focusing on the art of tequila and the art of photography and the art of human connection. This is a really wonderful, and the art of motorcycles, I can't forget that one. But this is a really beautiful episode in just sharing and tapping into those things that make us feel alive. So with that, I'm going to kick it off to me, Brian, and Pops, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
And we'll go 3, 2, 1, action! Okay. Hey guys, Bruce Kittle here with the Hidden Pearls podcast, sitting in with Emma. We are thrilled today to have Brian Bowen Smith, kind of photographer to the celebrities, stars, and so much more. And really, on our end, fortunate that he's actually become a very good friend of ours, and we're grateful for him to take time the day after his anniversary and all the things that he's doing. So we want to wish him a very, very happy anniversary. So Em and I, we are sitting outside of Cabo San Lucas. We are San Jose del Cabo, I guess is the name exactly where we're at, on our way over to Mexico City tomorrow. And the Niners hook up with the Cardinals in Mexico City. So we're very excited about all that. So we thought, with a little bit of Mexican flair and spice, Brian has some context down here, and we're going to kind of back our way into that. And as all good stories, it involves tequila. And so this story does as well, and we're excited to tell that story just a little bit. So Brian, anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule and for sitting down with us today. So
welcome to the Hidden Pearls podcast.
I know. I'm so honored.
Well, all right, very cool. Well, let's hop in because we want to tell a little bit about your history and story. And we noted before we got online that you're dressed and ready to go for another Harley ride. So we'll try to be on time and allow you to get out. What Harley will you be riding later today?
The 1969 Shovelhead.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Harley chopper. It's my birth year bike. For me, riding a motorcycle is my meditation. It's my one chance to escape, no phone, and just, really just go and listen to the hum of the bike and clear my head. So I try at least once a day to go, even if it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just to kind of reset and just enjoy just being alive.
Indeed. Well, let's do that together.
Great way to put it. That's a great way to put it, Brian.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that because it does, like sometimes put on headphones, you sit by the ocean, or you do all those kind of methodic, routine kind of sounds. And that's certainly true. If someone's not ridden a Harley, or at least a nice, big, large motorcycle, kind of the vibration within, you're sitting on, and the movement across the pavement and the sound of it. It really is kind of all absorbing in that kind of way.
Absolutely. Even the constant breeze on your face at the same velocity. It's all very much intact with yoga, with surfing, with things that are, and it, we can get cliche as we want, but it's absolutely, for me, 100% true, is that I feel like the ground is sucking me to it when I'm on a bike, and it's holding me. You know what I mean? And then at the same time, I feel like I'm floating through the air. So it's just really mental thing where, like, sometimes I fantasize about just the earth just letting me go through it, but it's got my back. And I feel, and I feel 100% safe. I don't, motorcycles are dangerous. So are cars. So is walking across the street. So big part of the way I live my life is just that. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it responsibly, but I'm going to do it because I need to make every moment that I'm here the best moment of my life. And that's kind of how I take on everything, including photography, including the tequila business, including friendships and marriage. You know what I mean? Like, I really, truly am blessed to be here. And so I make it a point to figure out things that make me, myself, deserve it. And I take advantage of them.
Whenever I reflect on being on a motorcycle, I think it forces you to be present. And I think that element of danger and the death kind of factor that's just always there. I mean, as much as the earth has your back, we went for an open water swim this morning right off the shore, and there's like a giant, don't swim sign, and we dart past it. And the whole time we're out there, I mean, people are like, conquer the ocean or conquer a mountain. And we're out there and we're like, dude, we're not conquering anything.
No.
We are blessed to just be like a speck in the sand right now and just to be on the playground. But I think whenever you're in one of those situations where it's like, there's death involved. I mean, like you said, there's death involved in everything, but something where it's kind of a little bit more in your face, it commands your presence.
Yeah, it does. And there's two kinds of people that, like, I'm not afraid of death. You know what I mean? But I don't want to die.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then there's people that are irresponsible, like, fuck it. You die, bro. And that's shit. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I want to be here as long as I can. I want to see my grandkids grow up. I want to keep, there's so much more in this earth. Someone was asking me yesterday, you mentioned it was my wife and I's 21-year anniversary. And the day before we were like, oh shit, it's our anniversary tomorrow. I'm like, oh, we have to do something. And then we do something every day. It's not, and we still, because we keep so busy that, it's not this thing where it's like, I don't think we know we're so married yet, because we still have so much more life to do. And we're still trying to figure out, and get our place in the world. And someone asked me, what's the best advice? 21 years, that's so long. And I'm like, there's no advice. There's no, if I knew what that secret was, I would be on a talk show and I'd be a billionaire and I'd be saving millions of lives. There is nothing you can do. Even what works for me won't work for you.
Right.
But there's great basic principles that, I remind my wife how proud of her and how lucky I am that she chose me. And that's all you can really do. Anything that she thinks about me is all up to her. And we all know you can't change anyone. You are who you are. And that's one of the big parts about when I met my wife. I said, listen, here's me. Here's all of me. This is who I am. And this is who you'll get till you die. Because I'm not changing ever. And I'm not saying, so if you want to stick in and you're fine with the way I live my life and how we're going to be together, you know what I mean? Then I'm in. But now the ball is completely in your court. You know what I mean? And that's how, and we understood and accepted. And some of it people don't understand. And some of it people are like, but Shay's powerful, strong woman and puts them in check. And I know I'm not, and that's exactly what makes a relationship and our relationship flourish, is that we're still really great friends before marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, two great things you said there. Well, there's a whole bunch because we've been rolling. But anyway, I guess the one is on the day in which you lose your fear of truly being yourself and just saying, fuck it and let go of it. And you're just going to be present in the world 100% about who you are, assuming you're not hurting other people and all that stuff. But, just like whatever eccentric, unique, wonderful qualities that is. And then if you're into the relationship side of it, finding someone that is willing to orbit with you around the sun in a way that's kind of a dance, because you want somebody that's going to embrace who you are. And at the same time, you're trying to embrace them, and it's never a perfect fit. And so there is some give and take to there. But how can the two of you stay in orbit together in a way that allows both of you to fully be who you are as individuals, and yet at the same time kind of do the coupling thing? And it is a magical, ongoing, evolving dance. There's no doubt.
When you let it work like that, like we also teach each other. I learned so much from her, and she reels me back when I need it. And whether I like to admit it or not, I'm like, you're right. Fine. And there's a fine line between
fine, damn it. Fine.
I never want to do anything to disrespect or hurt her. And I try to live my life like that with anyone, even my friends and my son and even strangers. I just want to be a good person. I mean, it's easy to be a dick. It's easy to be pompous. It's easy to be flaunting. It's easy, it's funny because even, let's just say motorcycles are to me, they are, I admit they are a gift, and I've worked hard, and I'm 53 years old. I only bought my dream bike, my birth year bike, my shovelhead. I only bought it 3 years ago. You know what I mean? I've been taking, I've saved up, and someone's like, oh, you got your midlife crisis. And I'm like, thank God. And I said, no, I've got what I've earned. I finally got something where like, I look back and I look at it and I'm so proud of it, and I polish it and I ride it every day. And I'm like, this is what I've worked for. This is part of what I get for all the hard work I put into it. I don't care, other people are like, you go to your tour. They're not toys. They're not toys. They're part of my life that helps the later part of my life. Like I can't even, I've destroyed my body in national champion gymnast, pro skater, surfing, snowboarding, all that. I've beat my body and broken every bone. It takes me 5 minutes to start walking in the morning. Do you know what I mean? So sitting on a motorcycle and being able to enjoy that aggressive feeling without having to do much is like, it's why you see these old crusty Harley dudes smiling. You know what I mean? That it's like they're getting after it. And it's like, this is something we can do. I embrace getting older too. That's what you guys live for, is like, how do you make your life and health better to live longer and enjoy life until the end? Do you know what I mean? Like when I listen to your podcast, when I watch your daughter teaching yoga before games and all those battered football players that she can help by, even if it's mental, I'm like, people don't take advantage of that. And later in life, I started believing in it and started thinking, how can I do that? And one of my friends, he goes, what truly makes you happy? Like, what makes you like, and I'm like, well, I really want my 69 shovelhead. I want a real motorcycle. I want that bike. And he's like, well, why aren't you getting it? And I just said to my wife, I go, you're not going to like this conversation. And I'm not asking, I'm kind of informing you. I'm getting my birth bike. I'm getting my dream bike. You know what I mean? And we need to figure out how to make it happen. And right away, she's like, well, let's do it. Just do this, and I bought the engine first because that's the hardest thing to find. Then piece by piece, I bought, parts for it until it came together. And the process in itself too, I was so giddy. And now I'm online searching. And then I found, when I'm not working and busting my ass, it's that. I couldn't wait to get home to start searching for new pipes. And being on the internet, it was like a kid, but it also stimulated my brain. My endorphins went up. You know what I mean? I got excited about it again. I got excited about life again. You know what I mean? It's like Christmas. It's like when you first started dating someone. It's like when you get that first brand new car. all those feelings that, the first half of my life I never had. I feel like now it's more important, and I appreciate it more. And they're stronger feelings mentally, physically, and emotionally than ever.
Okay. Hey, let me ask you though, is there a thing about having your birth year bike? I mean, is that kind of
it's kind of like a motorcycle thing. Like I wanted it because I'm like, this engine was built the day I was born. I'm riding a machine.
The very second.
Yes. So to me, it's like even cameras, you know what I mean? I name my cameras. They have personalities. I use them for certain things, for certain cameras. And I believe that there's a spiritual connection between, everything that I do. I mean, I'm just such a weird, full of life and energy guy that we have this bear that my friend Robert gave me. It's a stealth bear. It's probably like a $20,000 bear. It's like a big stuffed animal bear, like life-size bear that, when I had my gallery, we didn't have anywhere to put it. So I put it in the gallery and I put a chain around his neck and I put a little plywood and I painted it white and spray painted art on it. So I put it out in the front of the gallery. So when people walk by, it's like art. So then people just said, oh, Art the Bear. So he kind of got a personality of Art the Bear. Was like, oh, let's take pictures with Art the Bear outside the gallery. And I didn't realize that it was going to be a tool that would get people to come in the gallery like, oh, what's this? And ask questions. But recently Shay wanted to put art in storage and I couldn't. I'm like, we can't put him in storage. Like, it's almost like he became human to me. And I'm like, I'm not putting the bear in storage. I'm not. Period. Like,
bad karma.
We're remodeling our house and it's a gigantic, big ass bear. And she's like, well, you need to find a place for it. So I literally went to a gallery in my neighborhood and I'm like, this is going to sound really stupid, but and they knew who I was. And I was talking about doing a show and I'm like, okay, I've got this bear. And the guy's like, you mean Art? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, what would you say if I brought Art by? He's like, I would love it. And I'm like, no fucking way. Like, A, he knew the bear. B, he was like, without a question, was like, absolutely. Because you know what I mean? He's like, dude, it's like, absolutely. Why wouldn't we? You know what I mean? And so I'm actually, before I go on my ride, dropping that bear off at the gallery. ADD, but to your point, is that birth year bike, right? The bike is more than just a motorcycle. The bike is my tool to happiness. And let me tell you, it's weird. I found myself the other day just riding and I'm like, I looked over and this guy looked at me and like kind of cocked his head a bit. And I just had this smile, you know what I mean? Just like ear to ear. And I realized since that I left, I was almost smiling to myself, going like, you appreciate smells. You look at the scenery different. And I realized how blessed I'm also. I'm like, my neighborhood, I can ride through these canyons. I'm like, there's no place like this on earth, like in the world to me, that I can be in 2 minutes in like heaven. A lot of my motorcycle guys will do an hour ride to get to where we start riding. And I realized how blessed am I that I can do this out of my backyard. It's crazy. But I didn't appreciate my neighborhood till a month ago. Like, I know it's a great neighborhood and I love it, but I started really thinking and appreciating it and going, holy crap, dude, this is where you live.
Special times, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll circle back. We got to get to tequila, and we'll keep the Harley on the front page. So let's talk a little bit about you, just a little bit, and we don't have to do a whole bunch. But so your bio's got you born and raised in New York, and I don't know what your family deal was. I guess one of the things we always like to know is a little bit about how you grew up and what was one of the core lessons you learned from your immediate family growing up.
Well, I didn't have an immediate family. First of all, I didn't have. No stability, nothing. We were basically jungle kids. We lived in the ghetto. My mom was married and divorced 3 times. Then she became a lesbian. Never, I don't think she wanted to have kids. I really don't. I think she wanted husbands, and I think that was her way of holding on to them through children. I'm not judging her. I don't blame her. She was young, hot, you know what I mean? travel. I remember one time she left us. I must have been 3 or 4. And she left for a month and left us at home because she went on tour with this band. But it was her chance to like, I can't lose this chance. You know, it's like rock star. Like, this could be my chance. You know, she didn't discuss it with us. We just woke up and there was a note. I'll be back. And my brother Willie, God rest his soul, he was a big pillar in like, you know, he was the one cooking us rice. He was the one going and getting, you know, we had, you know, you talk about the bread and cheese line. We had that. There was a school where you went and you got loaves of bread, big things of like kind of like bricks of Velveeta cheese and butter. And he would go get that, come back. We would make grilled cheese. We would make, you know, grilled cheese sandwiches. We would, for dessert, or we want some sweet, we would butter on a bread, sugar, and ball it up and eat it like an apple. You know, and it wasn't like, oh, poor me. You know, it was like, that was just what you didn't know any better. You know what I mean? That's just what we knew. So if it even though, and I don't want to get into too much about, you know, because it's a drag and it was horrible. But it did teach me, if you want something in this world, you go get it. It taught me that if you do work and make something happen, whether you know, back then it was hustle. You know what I mean? Like I was selling diet pills to rich white kids, telling them it was speed to make money, because that's what, you know, in my neighborhood, kids are like, yo, they don't know the difference. And there's so much money you can make. And I was like, you know, so also that path is opening up. And then you had to decide, do I want to go down this path? Because I see also what's happening to people in my neighborhood that are dying and getting shot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then what the deciding factor was, one dude found out it was a diet pill and whooped my ass, gave me a proper beating. And I'm like, nope, done with this. Done with that. Like, as he was beating my ass, I'm like literally like apologizing. And I want to thank him like, yep, you just made a decision for me. I'm not, this isn't it. And then I then I figured out, like, you know, when you grow up in institutions like that every day, and I remember, and people can believe this or not, but it's the fucking truth. 4 years old, you're thinking about how you can get out of this situation. You're dreaming about a better life. You're dreaming about, I was dreaming about, like, I wish that I had different parents. Like, I look at my friends' parents and I'm just so jealous of, like, you know, but then I was like, I get to do whatever I want. I don't have a curfew. I can go out. I can do, you know what I mean? There was a certain amount of freedom that allowed me to be like, oh, I can go experience the world at a way younger age than most. I came in at night just because it was dangerous. Like when it got dark, you didn't want to be outside. You know, other kids are like, oh, my mom said I had to be in when the street lights come on. Just because that's just rules and what it is. And they're having supper. We didn't have supper. We didn't have designated times. We didn't have any of that shit. So it was like, I started experimenting and trying to figure out what is it that you can do to get out of this situation? How is it, you know, I realized really quick that if I got a girlfriend, I could eat dinner at her house every night. And that's what I did. You know what I mean? Every girlfriend that I had was like, I was like the parents' best. They were like, I was family. And it wasn't that I was doing it to use them. It was like, I loved that they loved me and that I got attention and they took care of me. Buy me socks and underwear for Christmas, which was like a hot commodity. You know what I mean? It was like those little things that you think about that most people don't ever think about. Having a fucking dryer and a washer. The first time I'm like, that is huge. Huge. Because in the winter, and we, of course, our house was so old that it ran by oil. The trucks would come and fill it with oil, and that would last a month, it maybe. And that's at like keeping it at 70. You know what I mean? And the house isn't insulated, so it's just going out the windows. So when that runs out, it's almost as cold inside as it is outside. You're just blocking wind. Upstate New York, Lake Effect, it's like minus 20, right? You're bundled up inside. You know what I mean? So when you wash your clothes in a bathtub and you hang dry them, they freeze. You know what I mean? So it's literally like with a hairdryer, getting these ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So long story short, you appreciate every little thing you get in life. You know what I mean? From like the most simple detail. I'm still like, because those feelings never go away. I can remember, here's one thing interesting that I want to see if you guys ever feel this, but I trip out about my brain and how I talk to myself inside when I make decisions still. And the voice inside my head, I remember is the same voice when I was 4, asking myself things and praying that I would get out of this. And, so it's almost like, I don't remember that voice being different. I know my physical voice was different outside, but the voice that I kind of, when I think to myself, seems like the exact same voice that I did when I was 4, which theoretically I would have thought that it would have been the child voice talking back to himself, but it wasn't. It was almost like this just soul voice that's like, that's what makes you. Do you know? And so it's so trippy that I go, God, I remember doing this. And I remember one day, like getting near the end of my rope, just going, fuck it, fuck this world, fuck everything, and then something good happened. And I remember being just so happy that saved me. You know what I mean? From thinking that way, which was sports. And I remember diving into it like it was, I just discovered crack cocaine, and now I cannot stop this train. And I didn't want to stop it. And, to be dead honest, sports, discipline in sports, and just the amount of gratification and support and just, how people loved and how I could impress someone was the most addicting thing in the world. And for an athlete, that's what you do. We can all say we don't do it. We do it for ourselves. We do it for this. I'm like, you may. But when you score a touchdown and you look out at that crowd and there are, those people cheering for you, and you look out and little kids are wearing your jersey, you know what I mean? Or people are coming up to you and going, you changed my life and I want to do this now because of you. And you remember you did that. I mean, there's no better feeling in the planet than that feeling. And now that was how I felt when I graduated college too. First one of my generation to ever go to college. Same feeling. That's how I felt the first time I got a cover of a magazine. Same feeling. So now athletics taught me, treat everything like that. Treat it like a sport. Work out, train, get disciplined. Change your lifestyle to make it work. Because athletes, we all know, you're not a top line athlete unless you give up your life to that sport.
Putting in the time, yeah.
Putting in the time. You can have all the God-given ability you want. We all know that even pro athletes that have that there's way more to it. You can be the best photographer in the world. The most technically perfect photographer in the world does not mean that you're going to be a top photographer in the world. There's so much more to it. You know what I mean? And that's...
Yep. All right. Hey, quick. So where'd you go to college? So you graduated?
I went to Cortland State University. It's upstate New York. It was about a half hour. I got a scholarship there, which got me to college. And and was the first of my generation to graduate.
That's cool.
It was like one of those things where I'm like, gymnastics brought me there, but graduating, I couldn't read. Like, this is how crazy inner city schools are. When I was a senior, I probably read on a 5th grade level, but I was an athlete and I was in the newspaper. And I think that helped me get through. But when I went to college, you had to take an entrance exam. And they were like, nope, you have a lot. So what I did, there was a program called EOP, Equal Opportunity Program. And it was for underprivileged kids. And what they did was you would go there the summer before school started, and they would train you and teach you how to pass the test. So basically, I went to summer school, lived in the dorm, and I learned how to read better, learned math. Like it was a crash course in, skills to pass this test. And I barely passed the test, but I passed. So now I'm in school. Now I have to keep a certain GPA to be able to do athletics, right? For the first 2 semesters, I literally hit it on the borderline. But then realized, okay, just like learning everything else, I learned that I thought I was just an idiot for my whole life. I'm just like, I can't learn. It's just something blocks me. Well, no one said, oh yeah, but you have ADD. Also, you have dyslexia. You know what I mean? So when I got diagnosed with that, and then the school had programs that helped me, then I started learning. Man, did I get addicted to learning and soaked right into it. By the time I graduated, I got a Scholar Athlete Award. You know what I mean? So it just reiterated and improved to the point that through sports again, and through hard work and dedication and saying, this poor kid from the streets of Syracuse just graduated college with 13 All-Americans and national titles, in a sport. You know what I mean? Which, long story, which we'll go into, is which got me, to New York City the day after I graduated and was in a national commercial for gymnastics for the Postal Service and started a career out of nowhere. What? This is happening?
Okay. All right. So let me, so I just, cause we bounce in and out of the world of sports, obviously with us, with George and
you're our first gymnast.
Yeah. So that's really cool. But, the sport world and that just because, guys, I've coached Pee Wee and junior high and high school and college and all that kind of stuff. And it's really true at all levels about kids who come in without support, without background, without all that kind of stuff, and really hanging on to their scholarship or being in a sports program where there's discipline, there's practice, and people are trying to help and support them be successful. And I'm not saying sports is the only thing that's out there. There's a lot of other things that you could do, that band, choir, whatever, but having a program, and then, it really reaffirms too, this notion about being part of a team, something that's bigger than yourself. Yes. There's big goals out there and you're all contributing to the same thing, and having kind of a collegiality with your teammates and even the competition, it pushes you to be better, to rise up and do some things. And so that, okay, all good. So let's do this. So as we're working through this, so congratulations on graduating college. That's very cool. We're glad you're still here. That's neat. All right. And then we're going to get back on the Harley here in a little while. But so we know somewhere in your travels to New York, you're going to get hooked up with Herb Ritz.
Uh-huh.
And so, so when you get out of college and you're starting to get kind of involved in this world, in this arts world a little bit with photography and that, most as a subject, it sounds like. But tell us then, how did you end up getting out to LA and all that?
I didn't. Like I said, when I graduated, the Postal Service was looking for a gymnast that could do his own stunts, because their idea of a commercial was, they just came out with Next Day, right? The Postal Service now can deliver a package the next day. So they wanted a guy that was away training for the Olympics, right? His sister and his family at home, they're watching him on TV. He does a perfect routine, but then fucks up the landing and doesn't make it. So I'm there away from my family. I'm super bummed out. My little sister writes down a perfect 10 and is like, come home. You're always a 10 to me. And as I'm getting on the bus, they deliver it to me. And I start getting teared up and I'm just yes, I'm going to be okay. And this isn't the end of my life. And there'll be other opportunities. And it was the Postal Service. The commercial was huge. You know what I mean? It was national. It ran for 2 years. You know what I mean? I've never made money in my life. This was real money coming in. And you were getting, I'm just I didn't know what to do. I was now and then from that I got, there was a manager there. It was just like the movies. Hey kid, what are your plans? You got to move here. I got an apartment. We're going to set you up. We're going to do all this stuff. And I'm thinking like, red flag, red flag, red flag. I'm like, I'm moving to New York City. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. This and that. And they're like, well, you're not going home. Then the casting director, Jerry Beaver, I'll never forget him. Craziest guy. It's like, there's no way you're going home, bud. Let's go. Put him up the Waldorf. So I'm at the Waldorf Astoria in a hotel. Get everything you want. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm not sleeping with you. Like, what? This, just, I don't know what's going on. Because he goes, trust me, kid, trust me. This is where you belong. So I'm, again, like, if this is where the universe is taking me, I just said, let me just see what happens. 3 days later, I book a Burlington Coat Factory commercial through this whole thing. And they're like, all right, and I'm like, I did a cartwheel in a suit. Like, and I'm like, and they're like, I'm like, that's it. That's what that, yeah. Then again, oh my God, this is how much I'm getting for that. And I'm like, and then they're like, now I want to be your manager. Like everyone's coming at me like, then this one guy, Robert, who's my surrogate father. We met and I actually got a job at a gym training people because I knew athletics. I knew the body. I knew that I could offer something. There was a very popular gym called David Barton Gym. I mean, it was like to the stars. Like everyone would. Calvin Klein. I trained like famous photographers. So I was meeting all these great people, but plus giving them another thing. Like we would go to the gym and I'm like, yeah, we're not using weights today. We're going to work out with your body and we're going to do, everything on a mat, with me and me forcing against, just different things. And it was, and they were like, people loved it, so he was literally like, look, we need to get some barriers straight and you need to start here's what's happening in your life right now. And everybody wants a piece of you. And here's what you're not going to do. And here's what you're going to do. And he helped, strategize. What am I doing? No, this guy's not getting that. People were taking advantage of me. A manager usually gets 20%. This guy's like, I'm going to get 35%, but I'm doing all the work and I'm doing all that. And I'm thinking, sounds good to me. And he's like, no, first of all, you're not working with that guy. Because if he's fucking you now, he's going to fuck you in the future. Later. So he's done. And he goes, you choose your manager. You find someone. And if you don't need one. They're coming to you and you're getting work anyway. So he taught me and kind of guided me. No, go back to photography. The only A I ever got in school was photography. And I was obsessed with it. Could I afford a camera? Hell no. So that was my end of my photography career was the 1 year where I took photography in school. That was it. Now, when I did that, I was obsessed and loved. And I'd have that camera because they gave you one that you could take. This was I guarded this thing like it was like a treasure. And it was so cool. It was an old Canon and it just looked cool. And you're like, it was the first time I'm like, I'm actually making and doing something, learning in the dark and watching that print come to life in the darkroom. I was obsessed. No outlet at the time. There's no way I can afford. I mean, who could afford? No one. You know what I mean? Photography, like people do this not in Syracuse, New York, which is true. I never would have. What am I going to do? School newspaper, then graduate, then what? You're done. There is no opportunity there. Now that I'm in New York City, getting all these opportunities. Then I did a short film with some college kids and I'm like, they're like, you got to be an actor. Like, you've got to be an actor. So then I'm like, really? You think? And I'm like, why not? So then I auditioned to Lee Strasberg acting studio. And if you know that, it's like, it's hard to get in. I got in, I got accepted. So I'm like, no way. So now I'm going into acting school and like, now I want to be an actor. Full speed. So through that, then I can ramble. So you got to stop me when I'm getting crazy. I'll just go off on rivers that are like, let's stay in the middle on the raft.
Okay.
So long story short, I started doing tons of national commercials to make money. You only work 2 days and then you don't have to work for a month. You know what I mean? So I was doing all that. So I had lots of time to do whatever I wanted to do. So now I'm in full acting studio. So now I'm like every day at class and they don't let you, like, this is like college again. You study, you have homework, you fuck up once, they just let you go. They don't have any, there's no expense. You don't miss a class. Sorry if you broke your back. You still have to go. You can't miss a class. That's how serious, because their time is very valuable and they don't take many people. So they know you're lucky to be here. Don't fuck this up. And it's up to you. We don't give a shit either way. Ended up graduating that, did some stuff, started acting, met a guy, hosted this MTV show. He's like, you got to move to California. I've always wanted to move to California. Are you serious? Dead serious. A week later, packed up my shit, went with him, lived on his couch in Venice Beach, hosted a TV show with him, met some people here. Now I'm going to an acting school in there. Oh, kid, you're going to be a big star. Got a commercial. Herb Ritts is shooting stills for the Gap campaign. He wants a pro athlete. He wants to shoot you. Now I'm in a room shooting with Herb Ritts. And I'm like, I knew who Herb Ritts was now. I've started looking into photographers because of the ones I train at the gym. I'm like, oh, who's Peter Lindbergh? Oh, shit. So before I started even thinking about being a photographer, I'm like obsessed with books. Two reasons why. I was like shredded, blonde hair in New York City, looked like, Matthew McConaughey, people are like, I want to shoot pictures of you. So I tested and shot for a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I want to do nudes of you. Great. Let's go. I want to shoot you for my thing. Great. Let's go. Like, I loved being in front of the camera because I just loved the whole thing. And I was always talking with them. And so what camera is that? And like, oh man, like, Bruce Weber used that roll-up. And I'm just like, what is that from the 60s? He's like, oh yeah. And the lens and learning about how the lenses are different and what lenses do what. So before I even knew I was going to be a photographer, I was obsessed with learning about photography and then became a fan of photography just because I enjoyed it and loved it so much. The day it changed was when I was shooting with Herb. And, we were doing it was an easy shoot. I was with, two other celebs and a musician and me as the athlete. We shoot, and then after he's in the back room and he's like, oh, you want to see something cool? Like, come check this out. And it was his Africa book. And he was going over it with the publisher during, in between sets. And it was like flipping. It was all the page layouts of like his pictures, and they're choosing what pictures go in. And I'm looking at this book going, holy crap. Like, this is like, I never, like, you went to Africa and did like this crazy safari book, but like completely different, and shot the tribes. And he's like, this one, what do you like, this one or this one? And I'm like, look at this one. And then I started getting crazy, like fanning over it. And he's like, all right, we'll do this one. And I'm like, no, don't choose because of me. Like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, no. And he's like, no, you're right. And then so I sat with him for a little and like looked at his book with him. And then I was just like, I went home and I was like, holy crap. Like, this guy gets to do this for a living. And my manager at the time was a gentleman named Sandy Gowan, who he booked the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. They're part of that mafia that took over Hollywood, Katzenberg and Geffen and all them. And so he was my manager, which was a blessing, but through, Herb and all these people. So they were all best friends. So I asked him one day, I'm like, do you think Herb would ever let me go to another shoot? Let's call him. And I'm like, no, don't call. Like, that's not what I meant. It's not. Speakerphone. Hey, I'm with Brian. He was like, oh, hey. And he's like, and then Herb like, out. Actually, I was going to ask you. He's like, I want to do some personal stuff with you. I want, and I'm like, to be in a Herb Ritts book. I'm just like, yes, I don't care what it is. You want to put my thumb in my ass and, like, I don't care. I have no problem doing whatever you want. Like, I want to be a part of this. You know what I mean? I'm like, let's go. Let's do. All right. And so that actually happens. I did these nudes, but I was on a trampoline, for gymnastics, and I was just flipping and doing double backflips, a full twist in the air. And I was so ripped, and I had this long blonde hair. So it was just me in the sky with clouds. and nothing was showing or anything like that. Like, and I'm like, but the pictures, because luckily before he passed, I got to go into the darkroom and he had print, the whole roll. Like he had a stack of 8x10s that they printed for him to look at pictures. So I got to go through and I'm like, and I'm not like, it wasn't because of me or it was, it was like, I was in the greatest shape of my life. There wasn't an ounce of fat on me, but the way that it looked in the sky, and because I was really twisting and it was just, they were freaking, I'm like, this is when I realized that you could take a model that's the most beautiful girl in the world. And if you don't have the brain or the talent to put that person in a situation that makes a picture iconic, do you know what I mean? Because you can take a pretty picture. Everyone's going to take a pretty picture and she's going to do most of the work. But when you have someone that's got a mind that can take that to another level and even make the person freak out that you did that, that's photography. That's a master at its craft. That's George Kittle. That's, Muhammad Ali. That's what I said, I want to do this. And I went home and I just told my wife, and then acting, I was on the way. I mean, to be honest, I was on my way. I was on Friends, I had a couple lines. By the time I had my first rehearsal, they wrote me into 2 scenes, Making Out with Jen Aniston. I booked the Margaret Cho show. She was a comedian. She was having her own show. Fast tracked me right to the top. They're like, my manager called, Sandy's like, he's like, dude, what did you do? You got like this, they're already sending contracts. Like, you're the guy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be on a show. Like, I'm going to be on a show. This is crazy. This is what I dreamed of. I got there and all the producers came to read and this and that, and they changed the script on me 2 minutes before I went in to read with Margaret. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. Remember, dyslexia, this is not lines and reading. I had to study them. I need a day to memorize everything. So when I look at it, my memory is reading off of it. All I need is 2 key words, and then I remember the line. But if I have to read it outright, there's no way. I still to this day can't spell a straight sentence to save my life. My brain just doesn't do it. So I panicked and I tried to get out of it. Like with the guy, I'm like, can't we just do the scene that I practiced? Like, I'm ready for that. They're like, no, Margaret wants to do this one. I got in there, kid you not, started, fucked up, froze, looked at the table of producers, everyone, silence. They're looking at me and I go, I'm really sorry, I just can't do this. I'm like, I'm not the guy. And they were like, what? Like, you are the guy and you can do this. And I said, no, I'm done. I quit. And I quit acting, and that right then in front of them. Got in the car, called my agent, called my manager, and I said, listen, I have such anxiety that I've never experienced in my life. I let everyone down. I let myself down. I'm defeated. I never want to be in this situation in my life again because of what I did to other people. Fuck me. I wanted to be an actor because I loved, who doesn't want to be Brad Pitt? Who doesn't want to do this? And I've got the best of the best pushing me and helping me get into this thing. Like, I couldn't be in a better situation. Had I not had dyslexia, I'd be an actor right now. I wouldn't be a photographer. 100%. Now, I went home, cried to Shay, was like, I blew it. This is it. What am I going to do? And then I reached out to Herb and I was like, can I come watch you do a shoot? He's like, absolutely. Next day, I was in front of him, moving waters, doing that for George Clooney and Giselle for the cover of Vogue magazine. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do. So I asked him, I said, listen, can I I don't want to get paid. I'll move, get you water. I'll get moved. I just want to be and see this. This is what I want to do with my life. And he knew. He could see it in my eyes. He knew it in my voice. He knew. He goes, this is what you're supposed to do. He goes, yes. He goes, here's the deal. I can't make this decision. I've got 5 assistants. You're going to go talk to them and you're going to ask them. You can come to a couple shoots. I make that happen. But as far as staying here and doing that, you got to impress them. So I went to the number one. I'm like, look, I don't want to step on your toes. Because, 6 months before that, they're all shooting me as a celebrity. Now I'm like coming to them like, can I get you a water? They're like, this is weird. And, but I made it, from what I've learned from everything, it's like, you've got to let these motherfuckers know that you are serious, you're dedicated, and you are there for them. They are your boss. If they say, go pick up every cigarette butt on the beach, even though they're not yours, you start doing it. And when they come out there in the morning and you're still doing it, they're going to see that you are no joke. You know what I mean? So I worked my ass off to impress them. Then about a month later, the day came where Herb asked, what do you think? And the guy said, I think he's definitely a help to us, put it that way. So then I started going to, I quit and I told Shay, I said, I'm done with everything. This is all I'm going to do. So now I'm like, now I'm not getting paid anything. You know what I mean? We're running through our money. Thank God she was working. So she supported us through the whole first part of my career, to the point where finally, after a year of assisting, they were like, look, you have to get paid. And I'm like, no, that wasn't the deal. That's not. And they go, if you don't get paid, we have to fire you. So then I made I made $150, $200 a day when we shot. And I was stoked. We obviously all know that you can't survive on that at all. Even if I got $150 a day, 7 days a week, you can't survive on that. But I'm like, now I'm getting paid. And then I'm like, holy crap. This is step one. I'm now in this is my industry. Now I'm in it. And at the same time, I'm shooting, I'm learning, I'm doing all this stuff in my spare time, every moment, learning the craft of photography.
Brian, how old are you at this point?
Yeah. What years are we here?
30. And that's the biggest thing. Everyone said, you're not, dude, it's too late. Like, you're not gonna, this is like, even the head assistant who I learned everything from was like, dude, it's like, you really should have never quit acting. Like, this is crazy. Like, and I'm like, and I thought to myself at that moment, this guy has no fucking idea what I'm going to do. This guy has they can't even fathom what I do when I get home after I worked all day. Memorizing everything we did, studying light, studying watts of lights, learning what each piece of equipment's called. What's the name of it? You know what I mean? What's an Apple box? Why do they call it LA, New York, and Chicago? Well, every little detail that I could learn on a shoot, I memorized, learned, and remembered. Everything. You know what I mean? So when I know that I want to go do something, I know what I did wrong and how to fix it. And back then, when you're shooting film, that's the hardest thing in the world, because I got books. I've got books upon books, all these filled with notes from when I started photography, writing them down with diagrams and this and mostly all of them were for, because everyone's like, oh, you're stealing light. I'm like, no one's stealing lighting. First of all, God created light. Men learn how to manipulate it. Women learned how to manipulate it. We didn't create shit. And every lighting scenario that you can think of, whether it's someone's bread and butter or not, they didn't think of it either. They learned it somewhere too. You know what I mean? So it's what you do with that light and how you make it yours. Biggest part of photography, isn't it? How do I make me stand out in a world of 1,000 billion people doing the same thing, right? It has nothing to do with photography. Nothing.
Well, Brian, let me ask you this. So in your bio, you talk about how Herb helped you find your personal photographic style. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think you're in the process of telling us that story. So a lot of hard work, attention to detail, learning all the technical stuff and all that. But that's still, separate from like creating a shoot, right? Like doing the lighting.
So let's just, for instance, let's look at Herb's work, right?
Yeah.
70% is done in sunlight. No lights. Bounce board. That's how he started, day one. Him, his assistant, and a bounce board. And then Sidney Crawford or Richard Gere. So what he knew was people. He knew, I'm going straight to the top. I want to shoot her. And I want to do it in, whether he planned it or not, he knew that natural light was the most beautiful light in the planet. And he shot it very simple and didn't want anything to distract from what that picture was, which is, you'll see a lot of his subjects are only wearing black or only wearing white. It's not crazy colors and outfits and all that stuff. His personal work and his style was developed from just straightforward, that person. That person's going to give me a gift that no one in the world can get. And that's their soul and their beauty and what God gave them. And I'm just going to make it look as beautiful as I can. And I don't need anything else. Give me a white wall and a subject. And I'm going to show you one of the prettiest pictures in the world, because he got stuff out of them and they did certain things that make a picture a picture. When you see a picture that evokes your emotion, that blows your mind, it's because it makes you think about the whole scenario. What was that guy thinking? Or what was that lady doing? Or what would, she looks like she's having an orgasm. You know what I mean? Like she looks like comfortable and it looks like you're a fly on the wall. This guy looks like he's laughing hysterical. What is he laughing at? It has to be a true story because no one can fake a laugh that good. I wonder what it was. That's when I look at pictures. I look for details of like, what is special and why is this a picture? Just a beautiful person is not a picture. Just beautiful lighting is not a picture. It's good to see technique, but when you see a picture, what Herb did, almost all his pictures, even some of the ones that are blurry and there were moments in time where he stopped it and captured it and knew this is a great memory. Now I can look at it and it brings me back to that memory every time. And that to me was how I said, I'm spending all this time learning all these techniques and all that stuff. I'm like, when I really don't want to do that, but I need to know how to do everything. So I would open up magazines, duplicate the light. Now I know how to do that, right? Just because if I needed to, I know. And you never know what opportunity you're going to get. Now I wanted to go, and Herb did a lot of celebrity portraiture and celebrity things, celebrity driven. I wanted to directly work with celebrities, especially movie stars, because it still kept me thinking in my mind that I was still on the path that I was supposed to be. Maybe I'm not an actor, but wow, now can I work with them? So the crazy thing is, one day I'm on screen making out with Jennifer Aniston. 10 years later, I'm shooting her for her movie poster. And she's like, wait, what? Totally remembered me. And, then we became great friends. And
because you're such a good kisser?
Because I'm such a good kisser. That's it.
Must be.
But it's so weird and crazy. But, it's like I still get to work with these people that are iconic that I've always wanted to work with before as an actor and do scenes with and think one day I'm going to be in a movie with, Brad or Dustin Hoffman or, like dreaming of that. And now I'm like in a better position where I'm actually working with them and for myself. And like, they're looking up to me as like, I'm so happy to work with you. I've been wanting to shoot with you for so long. I'm a huge fan. And I'm like, what? Never. And I have a lot of confidence, but I don't think it'd be hard as an actor to have one of the greats come up to you and tell you, dude, you're such a great actor. Like, I'm so glad to be running the scene with you. Like, I'm sure that it happens, but how often? You know what I mean? So it through her, but anyway, long story short, because again, I'm not answering your question 100%, but so what did I learn from her? Mostly how he dealt with people, how he loved what he did so much and cared so much about the person that he wanted that picture to be a joint effort of them. So when it came out, they were both equally proud, and he wanted to make the most beautiful image that person could ever have. I want them to say to me, this is the most beautiful picture to date I've ever had. And that's the highest compliment as a photographer you can get, because that means that that person went and showed their family that picture. That person, when that magazine came out, showed everyone and was bragging about it. That means that through the trickle of the spider web of success, every person that sees that now hears how important that picture is to them, which makes you as the photographer at another level and that much more important too, which now she wants to have you shoot her because of what this person said at dinner in front of this person, which is now a career,
right?
Which is now you support yourself and your family and your life as a photographer. So now you can call yourself. And the best advice her gave me is don't listen to anyone. And until you've done this for 10 years, you're not a photographer. And after 10 years, reevaluate if this is for you.
Okay, so because how many years do you have in now?
I'm going on like 2025.
Okay, so and I heard with passion the way in which you kind of described your understanding of the way Herb approached, making these photographs and capturing someone's soul and helping them mutually come together with some kind of beautiful image. So just can you add on to that, or how would you describe, so if someone is asking, what is Brian Bowen Smith's photographic style?
Yeah, so here's a great part about what I do that is contradictory to that question exactly. When I go to a movie poster, I get a PDF of references, lighting references, sets they're going to do, and how they want it to look. So now my job as a photographer for a poster is a DP. I'm not going in and telling the talent what I want them to do. It's like, it's already written out for me. And I show them, here's the position we need you in, because we're going to put you on a horse and we're going to do this. And then this is in the background. And that, it's the fantasy of like, this is work. So my job now is to make that scenario the best lighting possible. Make it perfect. Make that person look great. And give the fantasy like, okay, you're going to put street lights in the back. I already know street lights, have a different Kelvin than regular lights. So I got to put a blue gel over here. Then I'm going to put a yellow gel over here. So when they put a street light, the yellow light glowing from that is subtle enough where it looks like a street lamp. So that all matches. So you don't know. Half the people don't know. Is this retouch? Was it on set? Or was it on a gray seamless in an office building next to the set where they were shooting with with 9-foot ceilings, cramped up in a room with The Rock. And then the poster looks like you were in the middle of a jungle. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that part of the brain goes towards that. Then my personal work comes in waves of when I get stoked about something or get on a train. Once my brain gets started on something and I'm fixated on it, nothing else matters. Nothing. My wife is funny because she knows how my mood changes and she knows when I'm onto something. And she'll do, like, I'll be up in bed, eyes wide open thinking. She goes, what's next? What I know you're thinking of something. Then I'll explain it to her. And she'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. And then, drive-bys, the book, that happened that way. And she's the one that said, you need to just go. And I was thinking, you're okay with that? Like, She's like, no, you need to, you're driving me crazy. You need to get this out of your system. And then 2 days after she gave me the blessing, I was gone for 6.5 weeks. And we didn't know then, like, am I going to die? Am I going to get COVID and die? Like, am I risking my life? And what do I do when I get back? There wasn't even testing yet.
Right.
You know, people were dying. And I'm like going out into the world trying to get COVID the way I'm doing shit. Like, you're not supposed to leave your house. I'm going to every city in the fucking state. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? And then I thought, you know what this is? This is my moment. This is my war moment. This is my danger, war photographers I'm obsessed with, because they literally risk their lives to get photos, to document what's going on in history. There are important photographers, and there are photographers. Sandy always said, and my manager always said, he backed everything I did, and he knew, and he gave me his blessing, and again, helped me. Didn't say, you're an asshole, you wasted my time. He's like, well, okay, well, let's get you in with Herb. And I remember when I first did when I was like ready to show him pictures, he was so impressed, and he knew, and he was like, good for you. He's like, okay, good for you. And then we were talking, and I was like, I want to be like Herb, and I want to be, one day I'm going to do this, and that. And he looked me in the eye and he goes, you don't want to be any of those. What you want to be is important. He goes, be important. All that will follow. Find a reason that will make what you do important to the world and to others. Because that's what they did. But you don't see that. All you see is what everyone else sees, is the success and the beautiful books and the beautiful pictures. But what Herb was doing for his community and his life and his lifestyle is important. What Annie Leibovitz did with Rolling Stone and all these things is important. What war photographers did when they risked their life to get a picture that someone could put on the front page to show how bad war is and what really goes on is important. So when I was going through this whole trip, I reminded myself, it's important what I'm doing. And it's crazy. And I'm like, that was now my mission, that I wasn't just off trying to find pictures. I was off making sure that these pictures were important and had a meaning. And we can look back on this day and this time and look through this book, and someone's going to get something out of it. And everything in the book, if you look at the book, it's got everything from that era. It's got freaking Carol Baskins, which was, again, if you know that time and you knew Carol Baskins, that whole thing, it's in there. It's got George Floyd. You know what I mean? It's got COVID. It's got interracial marriage. It's got lesbians. It's got gay people. It's got straight people. It's got suffering. It's got joy. You know what I mean? And everything that happened in that time, it's like a capsule of here's what happened in that time when my kid goes to his, my grandkids and shows them. Everyone's wearing masks. Why? Well, because that was COVID. Right. And COVID, we'll be talking about it. It's like we talk about the Black Plague or the Great Depression or wars. COVID really is, it was as destructive, and it still is many of those things.
Yeah.
And so when everyone was like, I want to get a good picture of a COVID event, this and that, they wanted a picture of it because it's COVID. Where I was like, I wanted a picture that's going to be important and going to remind people and be different than what everyone else is doing.
Right.
So it stands out.
So we like drive-bys. Well, let me just, as a quick summary, you took, I can't remember the year of the truck, an older Ford.
Ford F-100.
F-100, and basically pulled it around 1958, and drove around the country. And actually, the great story is, shout out to Jan here, because she was the one that kind of DM'd you and said, hey, we're in Nashville, if you're coming by, because she was a fan of yours and was following you. And if you're going to do the drive-by thing, why don't you? And then she dropped little Georgie in as kind of a, my son plays for the Niners. We're off seasoning. Anyway, so which happens. And so if people haven't seen it, it's a collection of photographs, black and white photographs taken basically from the driver's seat, looking through the passenger window. at just a whole variety
all the windows, just anywhere I see stuff. And yeah, exactly.
So anyway, it's really cool. And there's a couple I really like there's the one with in the mirror and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, a lot of cool stuff. So that's actually how we first got kind of hooked up with you and met you, was right in the midst of COVID. And you're right. We're like, this guy's going cross country and everybody, like, people are dying and shit, like whatever. But anyway, so that was pretty cool. So people haven't kind of checked out. So let me just spin this a little bit. And I really appreciate this conversation about, doing things that are important as a kind of I'm kind of hearing that as like your North Star. Like, there's a lot of different ways to go there, but like, is this important to the world or to other people or to the people being shot in that? So on your in your website, and you kind of talk about this in your bio too, kind of, and maybe make this distinction for me and define it. But so what is then, are the drive-bys considered fine art? Because you use that term in your bio, and that's where
what is you tell me.
Well, that's what I was kind of like.
I know a bunch of fine art stuff I look at, and then people are like, that's not fine art, that's shit.
Well, so that I'm asking, like, so what
I see some paintings where I'm like, this is like, looks like the most difficult thing in the planet to do. This is like crazy. Do you know what I mean? And people are like, eh. Then where I'm like, eh, people are like, I walked into Art Basel one day and there was a booth and it was all white and there was a crumped up piece of paper on the floor. And me and my buddy are looking at it and I'm like, someone forgot to clean up. And some lady went, that is art. And I'm like, the crumpled up piece of paper in the corner is art. And then I said, you know what? I apologize. To you, it is art. And I respect that. And I apologize. Because who am I to come and say a crumpled up piece of paper isn't art? You're exactly right, lady. And I literally sincerely apologized to her. And I said, thank you for opening up to my mind and making me think now outside this box. And she was like, and we actually had a conversation for a minute, basically her scolding me and with this crazy fucked up hat and this. And I'm like, okay, lady, I get it. I'm going to go eat now. But my point is again, it reiterated the fact that like art is what I tell you it is, right? I'm going to tell you all my shit's the best because that's my vision. Right. I want you to see my vision. I think as an artist, what I have to learn and what I love is that I don't do it for anyone but me and the person I'm doing it with. And if other people love it, great. I'm not using fine art to make a career. If it happens that way, it happens that way. That's the fun part and the reward I get for me becoming a photographer and choosing it as a career. Fine art is my way of letting out what I got inside that I want people to see. Fine art is the gift that I get to have and experience for the rest of my life because I've learned the art of photography. That's my outlet. So when I say fine art, it strictly means personal. I thought of an idea, and I went and implemented the picture. It doesn't mean that I can't be out with my iPhone, see something, take a picture, print it. That still is fine art. Now, if I tell you it's from an iPhone, you automatically think, bullshit, no way. That's why I don't
not
like
anymore. Not with the 14, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you afraid of that? I'm like, I'm not afraid of it. I think it's great. No one is going to come in with an iPhone to Paramount Pictures and try to set up a movie poster and shoot it in an iPhone. Not yet, at least. And they're definitely not going to get, Martin Scorsese to approve them. So am I afraid people are taking my job? No. You should always be afraid someone's going to take your job. So you stay on your toes. You think if George started eating chicken wings every day, I'm like, I'm the best. What am I worried about? I'm not worried about someone coming up and taking my job. You're always worried because you don't know what's around the corner. I don't know what's around the corner and all these new kids that have the same drive and passion that I do, that are smarter than me, that have more money than me to buy the tools that they want, to learn it quicker. I don't know. I'm like, that's not what it is. There's a certain amount of confidence and innate ability that I have, that I know that I possess, that takes all that fear of that away. If I continue to work hard and I continue to have my ethics the same as they were when I started and not get lazy, I'm not going anywhere. Am I going to be the same level. We're not all the same level. Muhammad Ali had to get knocked out. Tyson had to get knocked out at some point. It's inevitable. You know what I mean? As we get older, as we change, and I will be the first to admit, sometimes I have to take a break from photography. Sometimes my wife and I have to take a break from each other and reevaluate and recharge what it is we got into this in the first place for before we destroy it. Before I'm looking at a camera going, oh, I don't want to go shoot today. You know what I mean? I'm tired. I just did 9 jobs in a row that were so grueling. 18-hour days. I'm like, I need a fucking break, right? When I think or get to that point, I take a break. And if that means passing up on a $50,000 job, pass on that job. That proves to me and everyone else in my camp, I'm first. I'm in control of this. I don't care about the money aspect of it. And I don't care about the celebrity aspect of it. I care about the work. I care about what I'm doing. And that's kind of the advice I give young people that are learning this. I'm like, you really, I can't stress this enough. Don't rely on your talent. Don't rely on what other people are telling you. Don't let people blow smoke up your ass and tell you how good you are, even though you know you are. If you don't love it, if you don't wake up thinking about it, if you don't go to bed thinking about it, do not try to make it your career. If you've got thin skin, if someone can't come up to you and yell at you and tell you you suck to your face while you're trying your hardest to make this good, if you can't handle that, quit. If you can't handle a coach, telling you you fucked up and you're not that good, you don't believe these freaking magazines and other stuff, then you know what I'm talking about. Work harder. And if you can't go, yes, sir, I get it, yes, sir. Because you're not going to do everything on yourself. We need coaches. We need parents. We need siblings. We need people to back us and remind us and help us. I never would have been able to do this. I still can't to this day without a core people group all together making this career for me at the top of the triangle. That whole triangle down here, these are the important people. Now I'm a vessel for other people, which also makes me completely happy that I'm now supporting people. I'm now creating other little Brians to go out and do. I'm like, you want my lighting techniques? If you're going to go out there and be a badass, I'll just give them to you. There's no secrets. It's not the camera. Give me your phone. I'll show you a picture with this phone that'll blow your fucking mind. Because I know light. I know what to do with that picture in 10 seconds and watch me. And I can do it with anyone in the world. And it's like their jaw drops.
Un momento, por favor, go.
No, I was just going to say, I love that because I think it's so much, when you really like hoard information and you become almost like exclusive that way. And it's like, no, I can't give you these techniques because you're in that fearful state. And I think
of course,
one thing that I've always just been in awe of you is like how you really are at the top. And literally I'll ask you any question and you're like, here's everything. Here's everything. Come to everything. Like just, it's such an amazing way that you spread love through this world. And I think that can be such a lesson that people take away because, you can give me all the lighting techniques. Does it actually mean that I'm going to like put in the thousands of hours that you have, Right. And so I don't know. I just think it's such an amazing way that people can share love and like help people advance. And it doesn't have to be so competitive.
Well, it affirms that it's not about those techniques.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it's not.
Your talent,
and I just want to like hit, because you raised 2 topics that have been really big on our show that we come back to all the time. One is this notion of self-care. Is like, even in the midst of the work and the grind and trying to be great, you got to do all that stuff. You have to step away at times and recognize when that is and put in time to take care. You got to get on your Harley and go for a ride or go surfing or do whatever it is to maintain that, because your cup can't overflow if it's got holes in it. And so that, and the second part is that, so we're always talking about it's okay not to be okay. And then the other part is that you're not alone in this and that we're all being kind of silly. We had one of our last veteran interviews, the guy just said with military folks, they talk all the time, or the one thing that made him click is they come back all macho and they got to fix all this stuff on their own. They're trying to ride this solo warrior and all that shit. And one of the therapists said, look, dude, you'd never go into battle by yourself, would you?
Did you ever want to firefight on your own?
And so why do you want to deal with your PTSD or your drug addiction or your alcoholism or your depression or your stress or anxiety? Why do you want to do all that shit alone either? And it's the same it's a different battle, but the same kind of thing. And so it's the same thing. So professionally, we have to surround ourselves with the best people that we can and nurture them and care for them and let them support us, and also with the care. So self-care and staying within the context of the team. Okay, let me ask you this, because I know you're going to get rolling again and you may or may not answer this question, which is okay, because it's all been great. I just want to know, so in your world, because when you talk about doing things that are important and capturing somebody's soul and this kind of iconic image, that you have come up with over and over. And so I was looking back on your website under fine art, you've got your work, you called it The Mask, you've got Dancing with Your Angel, Channel, Metallic Life, the White Series. So those kind of photographs. So I guess one of the things, do you have a particular message about humanity and or the human condition that you're either trying to convey, and or after all of these soul snapping images that you've taken, what have you learned about humanity?
I wish honestly that I had an answer. I wish that I could. The only thing that I can say is that when I do things, I do them just like I talk, or just like, I'm like, this is me at work. This is me at thing. I'm like, I go off on tangents. I get my brain on something. I one track it, and we come up with this picture. Then after, I'm like, holy shit. And every time I'm still like, how did I do this? Even Dancing with Your Angels, like that was a freaking test. And, and then I have a dear friend from Leica, Karen, that gave me this camera to play with. And she said, you're going to do something amazing. The pressure I felt, like I got to do something. And I'm like, all right, let me think what I can do this and that. When I did that test, and when I saw that first angel come out, I literally got goosebumps and was jumping up, freaking out with the girl. And she was like, holy shit. Nah, to answer your question, she got deep. She started crying. And the one girl, I could get choked up thinking about it. She's literally in there in my garage with me because I blacked out my garage. And she said, I've been going through a hard time in my life. And I feel like that demon just left my soul. And now this angel appeared to let me know everything's going to be okay. And I thought, oh shit, that is fucking deep. And I was like, the joke, I go, well, that was the object of the shoot.
I knew that coming in.
I will tell you, after a good tear up with her, and just to feel that, like, now let's get corny, right?
Yeah.
Now something I did with my work affected someone's life so much that did I make that woman turn her life around? And God knows, if she's crying and saying this to me, what was she thinking? Could it have went south? Did we just save a life? Did we just put her on a path of righteousness? Did my work as a photographer just impact someone's life? Absolutely. Did I mean to do it? Absolutely not. Am I supposed to? Am I supposed to figure out how these things? Maybe that's God's way of just saying, let me drive, just keep your hands on the wheel.
Just trust the muse.
Trust the universe, and trust what comes out. Trust that. I'm like, I'll be the first to admit, I am not a photographer. I'm not a photographic genius. I am not what I appear to be. When you meet me, you figure that out really quick. It's no less than Einstein developing the theory of relativity. If what I'm doing impacts people's lives and changes people's lives and gives them and what I say makes them pick up a camera and go, I'm going to do the same thing. If I can do that, if George can inspire kids to be like, well, I got a pair of sneakers and I can pick up this football and go run through my yard and just knock the shit out of people. If we can influence them, whatever we were meant to be here on this earth for, now I have a meaning and I have a purpose. And now my pictures are not just going into a gallery and I'm selling them and I'm redoing my kitchen. And now we're like, good, life is golden. I can sit back and go, no, but I'm important. I help. What do you do as a photographer? I change lives.
Right.
So they're getting stupid. Yeah. Fuck you if it does. I'm like, that's what I get. That's why I feel good about taking money from all these companies where I'm like, this is ridiculous what I get paid sometimes. I feel like wrong almost. You know what I mean? But you know what? Someone's got to do it. So what am I going to do to make myself feel better about it? Go do good. Go help people get started in careers. Giving back is what I'm here for. When I used to pray when I was little, I would ask God, I promise you, and God is listening. So this is not bullshit. If you help me get a ton of money, I will help other people. I'll give it almost all of it away. I'll help other people. And that was that a way of getting it, me tricking God into going, all right, well, this guy's saying that. Like, I think God knows, or whoever it is up there knows if you're lying. So I kind of was like, I'm dead serious about doing it. I'll give you, and this is how I've been since I was little. I'll give you my jacket if you're really cold. Because I know I have one more. Take my jacket. And I'll walk home cold, knowing. And I've been that way ever since. My wife still freaks out sometimes. I'll have my hat on. You know what I mean? And it's an $800 hat. Some dude will be like, "Oh, that hat, that's the coolest hat I've ever seen." Some old man. I put it on his head, it fit. I'm like, keep it. And my wife is literally going, you just want to learn. You don't have to give your strangers your hats all the time. And I'm like, yes, I do. Because that guy's going to wear that hat. Everywhere that guy goes is going to be just like when he looked at me. They're going to look at him and it's going to start a conversation. And who knows if that hat's going to help him open up. That's how it worked with me. He was sitting at the bar alone, then started talking to me because of my hat. Maybe someone will talk to him. I fantasize about him being a lonely, maybe his wife passed, maybe he never got married. What if a girl's lonely too, sits down and goes, great hat. Oh man, this hat. Man, you're not going to believe this story. I was sitting down at a bar, and then that's going to test his personality and how cool of a person he is, where she might go, wow, this guy, I'm going to give him some time. Who knows if they end up getting married? That's the kind of way my brain thinks, and how, like, when I do things, I'm like, I can make a decision in a split second, but I'm 100% back in it. 100%.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So I'm just thinking about, in the story you told about the angels and the woman and the demons being released and so we're always thinking about kind of pathways to healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so just tell me I'm just going to throw this out there and you tell me how far off I am. So in my mind, in the photographic or creative experience, whether it's motion or books or whatever, but when you're taking the images, it seems like there's at least three parties, right? You've got the person being photographed. You've got you, the photographer, and I know it's more complicated than that. There's more people, but still. And then the other is the final product. Once it's out there, someone who's neither the subject or the photographer, but is like the spectator seeing the product that has been produced. And in all three of those, the interpretation and experience can be, it seems, uniquely and very different. But at the same time, each participant in that act of creation can find their own interpretation and thus their own kind of pathway toward healing in their own way. So tell me if am I on to, like, is that touching base with does that resonate?
100%.
Okay. Have
100%.
you found in your act of shooting, have you found that to be kind of a healing process, the ability to create and to assist others in this kind of way?
Yeah, it's all breaks down to, again, the success that I have because other people are digging what I'm doing. And that saves me. That keeps me going. Right. That reminds me that I'm here for a purpose. When I still go out, even with your daughter, you know what I mean? And to be honest, Jan, when I met Jan, so to preface how I met Jan is that when I was doing that drive-by thing, how I would get people was I would go on Instagram and be like, hey, I'm driving through Kentucky. Anybody in Kentucky want to do a picture? DM me an idea and we'll come up with it. When Jan hit me up, because I would get hundreds and hundreds. So, as we were driving, we would go down and look at them and go, oh, this one looks promising. Let's dig in deeper to this one. And then I DM them back. And then eventually it would end up like, here's my phone number. Call me. Let's talk about this. And I'm like, yeah, I know who George Kittle is. I'm like, and yes, I'd love to stop by and shoot a picture of him training. Like, are you kidding me? Like, yes, I'm in. Where? I'm coming to you, and she was so excited. And then was like, excited. And you work, and I have a Leica. And it's like, I'm like, you sound like me. And she was like, oh my gosh, or, you know your wife. And I'm like, I would have went there if she said, would you shoot me? I'd be like, yes, you're exactly the person I'm looking for, which is why she ended up in the picture.
She did.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, you have to be in the picture. Like, you're his mother. We shot, and then she had the greatest ideas. Like, he's training like by his high school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, George Kittle in front of the high school where he played ball with his mother. Like, what's more American than that? This is a story in one picture. This is great. And I love the picture that when she's just looking like so proud and looking up at, and I'm like, again, then it's back to my roots. I'm like, that's family. That's the jealousy I wish I grew up with. That's what this is about. And so to answer your question, now, not only did it up my spirits, but she reminded me of that, how important I was to be a part of that picture that I just took of her family and her. And now I know how important that picture is to her. So yes, that makes it now. And then how we've become good friends through a picture. And how I'm on your podcast and hoping to inspire others. How honored I was that I get to be on your podcast. So it's all, the universe all spins, like a big ass tornado, and you got to find your way when you can get out and grab things in the world and throw things back out into the world that kind of make it go round. And I can't speak on, do I think into a picture that I'm going to change someone's life? No. Do I hope every picture that I take, I hope makes someone feel something powerful? I hope that someone sees what I see, because any picture that I put out for sale or I put up on my website or I put in a gallery, I know it's special. And I know that's the one. So I hope that people see it. And so far it's been like, it's still unbelievable. I'll go somewhere and someone will recognize me and just be like, you're my favorite. You're my, and you see them fanning out. And I'm like, this is what George gets. Like, how am I getting these people that are literally like almost, like one lady was almost, I went to Basta the other night for dinner. I'm sitting there and this lady comes up. She goes, I'm so sorry. And it was a grown woman. She's like, it's so funny. My husband and I made him come to dinner here tonight. She goes, maybe my favorite photographer would be sitting at the bar, because that's where I always sit. She walked in and they passed, and she was literally like, I couldn't believe, like, she walked past. She goes, we got to our table and her and her husband are like, he's like, you got to go say something. I can't. But she was so excited. She came up and she's just like, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to bug you, this and that. And we're like, just like, okay. Well, she's like, you're my biggest, like, you're my inspiration. And she was almost tearing up. And I'm like, I just hugged her. Didn't talk. I just like hugged her. And I just said, thank you. And I knew everything. I knew what she was going to say. I knew everything. And then so I immediately started talking about photography and asking her about her to switch it off. And we started talking and I'm like, what are you doing on Friday? She's like, nothing. I'm like, you're coming to my party with me as my guest, you and your husband. She was like, wait, what? And we were throwing the launch of our tequila party for 11/11. It was invite only. The guest list was closed. I'm like, you are coming as my guest, right? Give me your email. I'm sending you the tickets, and you're coming with me. They came to the party, got all dressed up, and it was the cutest thing I've, and just, I'm like, and then all of a sudden we were like friends. Like, I'm like, hey, and then she comes over and give her a big hug, and she's like, I can't believe this. And I'm like, well, believe it. I'm like, you're, what you did and the balls it took for you to come up to me and what you said. And I'm like, anything that you need, ask me. You got questions you want answers to, just ask me. I'll tell them. Just like I told you, I'm like, I love when people do that, because I'm like, yeah, if you don't ask, how would you ever know? And what do you think I'm going to say? Well, I don't know. Why don't you ask and find out? I wouldn't have my beautiful wife. She was way out of my league. I knew that. But I'm like, I'm going in once. Yeah. She can tell me that I'm not up to her standards, and I know, but I'm going to try. And I came in with such confidence. That's what won her over. She was like, okay. she's like, and then, and I said something about it. She was out of my league. She was like, what's my league? And right in the Southern thing, like right away. And I was like, you better come up with a witty answer. And I'm like, well, I'm used to dating like girls that are a lot prettier than you. So I'm like, but I know that you seem special inside, and then she got a laugh out of that, and that broke the ice. But it's like, it's that interaction, and it's that, also, what good am I if I can't help others and spread the knowledge of photography to see what else comes out of it? Now, let's just say I give someone a camera and I help them and give them these lighting techniques, and they do something that's way bigger than what I ever did, right? I'm not jealous of that. I'm like, you're welcome. Now I'm actually part of what you did, and I'm going to get the coattails off of what you did when you have to tell everyone, well, if it wasn't for Brian Bowen Smith, I never would have done this project, right? So as long as you can say if it wasn't for someone, you know what I mean? That's what you're talking about. You need help? I always, if it wasn't for someone, if it wasn't for this person, it wasn't for that person, it wasn't for that person. Then I realized if it wasn't for all these people, I wouldn't be here either. None of us would be. So you have to be open to taking criticism. You have to be open to, you want to help me? I'm like, how? Let's go. Show me. I'm willing to try it.
Well, speaking of photography has definitely been a way that you've influenced us. And you guys just hung his artwork up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have your artwork all over the place. But another way that you've influenced us, Brian, is with tequila. And so just circling back to your 11/11, congratulations on that. We tried it. We actually tried it on 11/11 and it's fantastic. So I think we should transition a little bit into the tequila, being down in Mexico. So maybe if you want to give us a little just on, how did you get into the tequila business?
Tell us about your story in Mexico.
So there's my partner, Steph Sabag, his uncle was down in Mexico, and he grew up with all these great tequila makers, and he actually dealt with perfumes and long story short, he had this great opportunity to start a tequila company and wanted his nephew Steph to run this place. So Steph immediately came to me. Steph and I owned a gallery together back in the day called D-Ray Gallery, where I exhibited the white series and the black series and the mask series, and which has launched my fine art career. So we've always been entrepreneuring and trying to figure out different ways to do things. And he's always using art and music and life to make, life go round and figure out ways to how to spread that. So he's like, what if we made a tequila based on, art? You know what I mean? Like you shoot pictures and we treat it like it's art, because the making of tequila and the process and everything is art. And then we met these beautiful women. Everyone in the company, majority of the people in the company, they're all women, which we didn't plan and go like, we're smart, we need to hire women because of the time. It just so happened that that's the way it fell into us. And they were 80 plus at what they did. Do you know what I mean? And, there's a myth that tequila is invented by a woman. It's very, tequila is also, majority of the people in the world that drink tequila are women. So he's like, why not?
I account for that number.
Yeah, a lot of you, just because it's the empty calorie content and it's a stimulant. Do you know what I mean? And it's, so we like to think of ourselves as the art of tequila. You know what I mean? And from our brewers to the bottles to everything has a strong feminine kind of aspect. And we were drawn to that. And I actually just got super lucky to be, he's like, I want you to help me start it. I didn't have to know anything about the tequila business. I've learned quite a lot since the beginning, but my job was how do we make a face of a company? So that's what I do. So we dug right into it, and we went actually down to Mexico. And first thing we decided is our Mariana Padilla, we're like, you're going to be the face of our tequila right now because you're involved in the process of making it. And why not? Why not use the real person? And you're gorgeous. And we love you and we love what you stand for. And you're Mexican. You know what I mean? Mara, we're going to go get some hot girl that looks like you, that's American, to put it out there in the world. I'm like, no, we want to keep it traditional. Let's keep it traditional as possible. You know what I mean? So our whole process and concept is do it the right way, even from our factory and the way we brew it and how we steam it still. And we're worried about the environment. All those things are like that, what people should be doing. We strongly hold values to. So we're not just another celebrity tequila because Eva Longoria got involved and we want to just, blow it. We care about what we do. We care about the product. The first thing Eva said before anything was like, I want to taste it and I want to make sure that it's up to my par. And I am like, she's like, no joke. And we know she knows her shit. She's been approached, I'm sure, millions of times, turned everyone down because it has to be the right way. And it has to taste the right way. It has to be the right way. And we were like, yes, show us the way. We listened. And that's how, and so then I became one of the founders. And I'm like, I still can't believe that fell into my lap. And then it was funny because I was having a meeting with my partner the other day and our president, Kobe, and they were like, it didn't fall into your lap. We thought about this and monopolized in our minds why we need you. You're important to us. It's not like, she goes, if we wanted to have a picture, Steph he had a campaign. He hired the biggest photographers in the world for campaigns. You don't think he could have called one up and said, hey, can you shoot our campaign? That's easy. You know what I mean? There's much more to it. And it made me realize and feel again, oh, this is important. I'm actually worth something and I'm here for a reason, not just because I'm a good photographer. So, and then and I'm proud of, I'm like a proud parent to our tequila. When I talk about it, when I talk about you guys, I can be passionate about it because I believe in it and I know it to be true. And if I tell you it's the best tequila I've ever had and you taste it and you're like, you obviously don't know tequila if this is the best I've ever had. I know you know your stuff. The first time, Bruce and I talked about it, he's like, oh, I'm a tequila drinker. And I knew you're the one I want to taste it first. I need you to have this so I can get an opinion. Now, listen, there's tequilas that are hugely popular that I think are too sweet. It's everyone's personal taste, but I admit it's a good tequila. It's just not my cup of tea, or I can see a picture and say, that's a beautifully executed picture. I mean, to the point where I'm like, wow, hats off to you. Not my thing.
Right.
I would never put that on my wall, but I appreciate everything. And I know all the hard work and knowledge that went into that picture. And I'm impressed. Right. Then I see a girl who took this picture and I bought at a show that I thought was going to be thousands and thousands of dollars, but I'm like, I have to have this photo. The photo was $300. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, she's a first-time artist. And I'm like, I'm giving you $5. And that's ripping you off. And I'm like, who shot the photo? She's like, I did. She's like, you're the first one to ever buy a print. And I'm like, can I Instagram it, this and that? And then, of course, she didn't know who I was. But then when I Instagrammed it, she DMs me and she's like, holy fucking shit. She's like, thank you so much. I'm like, no, it's true. And I didn't Instagram it too much to help you. I want to brag about how much I love your photo. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hope that that's going to put some fire under you to keep going, because it's a hard world to make a living as a photographer. Things are changing. Like you said, everyone's a photographer now. So how do you stay afloat? How do you separate yourself? It might be one photo that does it. And then you might not do another one that powerful for years. Do you know what I mean? So you got to be prepared for that. And that's the toughest part now, is figure out how you fit in this industry and in this game if you want to survive. I had to change the way I do things when the industry changes. Magazines don't have any money anymore. It's a fact. But, we want to keep it alive. So how do we do this? Do you know what I mean? And still do it. Budgets have changed. You've got to figure out a way to work around them. Life isn't going to stop. The universe isn't going to stop. Do you know what I mean? We all know this. we have to figure out daily, reevaluate. I reevaluate everything daily going, okay, today, what am I going to do to help me, to help myself? How am I going to stay irrelevant? And just by finding a home for that bear, I now have a new show coming up that now I'm going to be busting ass working on now. And it's a collaboration show because I'm obsessed with collaborating. I did one with Brandon Boyd. I loved it. I'm going to take a piece of work, give it to you, and you're going to make it better. I don't even know what you're going to do to it. Who in what? I love it. Who gets the credit? Who cares? It's like, I love the idea that you look at a photo and you get something out of it to where you draw on it and make it into something completely different that I never would have imagined. And I'm talking about people I met on Instagram, like nobodies, and then artists that are hugely successful, selling art for $400,000. All those people together in one show. For me, it's like, it's an honor and a no-brainer. And that's the next, that is the next step. Then maybe collaborations is the future. You know what I mean? With computers, people are drawing and making photographs out of nothing. They're not even taking a picture. Right? All right, well, how do we work together? You know what I mean? Villages thrive and survive on community and doing things together, right? Since the beginning of time, cavemen. You know what I mean? So is that where maybe we're going back to that? Don't know, but if you don't open up your mind and say, that's a possibility, you know what I mean? Like, but I want to be the one that takes the picture and I want to be the one that gets the credit for the painting. I want to be the one, like, who cares? At some point, you're like, I want to be the one that bought a steak for my family. I want to be the one that put a roof over our heads. So sometimes you don't get. In the Great Depression, you can't talk about your Lamborghini anymore, can you? No, because no one has it and no one cares. And there's no gas. All that shit goes out the window. And now you're like, you have to protect your family and figure out how to get out of this country that's falling apart. And now you're equal, right? If you never were there, you've got to learn how to survive like that now. I can imagine that's pretty hard. Silver spoon in your mouth. Going from nothing to everything is a lot easier. Because everything's a bonus. Everything's on the up and up. Everything's like, wow. When you've got everything and you start losing it, when you get to that second step, you're freaking the fuck out. How do you lose your house? What am I going to tell my family and wife? How do we lose? You're going backwards. Then you're losing your job. Now you get nothing. Fuck, babe, we have no money. We got to go move into an apartment. If you don't have the moxie and the guts to go, that's just what we have to do right now. The first thing my wife said to me, and this is when I knew long after we were married that I made the right choice. During COVID, I wasn't working for months and months and months. My agent said, get ready for maybe this could be over for us. Me, you, everyone. Who knows what's going to happen with this industry and what if this doesn't go away? You can't do shoots. Everything that you see will be drawn. It'll be a photo on the poster. They won't need us anymore. Think about that. And I told, my wife, and I'm like, let's come up with a plan. Let's make a plan now to see, let's figure out what we got in the bank. How long can we survive like this? And what's the first thing to go? And how do we do that? And she's like, well, we start over. We've done it twice before. I'm not afraid of starting over. If we have to get an apartment, we live in an apartment. Like, what's your question? And I was like, so she goes, our house is our house. It's a house. We can get another house. Do I love this house? Yes. Do I want to lose it? I want to have this house forever. She goes, but if we lose it because we can't afford it, that means we can't afford it. And she said it so matter of fact and so that it took all the stress as a husband, as a father, as a breadwinner. It took all the stress of that and threw it right out the window. Knowing, man, you're a ride or die. You got my back. You are in this for the long haul. That is just the most, the amount of stress I was putting on myself to try to make sure I keep all the things that I've created for us, that we've created. You know what I mean? In an industry where I could be dropped off in a second. Everyone knows this. Everyone's like, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, bullshit. I could be gone tomorrow. All the industry has to do is change. And when they don't need you, you think they're going to care about you? You think they're going to give you a severance package so you can continue living the lifestyle that they created for you? Do you think that someone's going to help me find something else? No. When shit hits the fan, people go after what they need to go after, and they leave. And they do their thing to survive. And that's the way the world works. You can't change it. It's never going to change. I don't put enough trust in anyone to give them enough opportunity that they control what I do. I'll never do that. I'll always be in control of what I do, because then I can be in control. And I know what I can and can't do. And I will be I always say the biggest thing in photography and in life is like, let me make my mistakes. Just let me do them. If I ask you to do something, don't question it. Don't say, oh, well, that's not how it's done. I'm like, maybe I'm doing that because it's not how it's done. Now, you don't see the big picture. Stay on track with me. Don't ask me or question me. If I ask you to move a light somewhere, just do it and don't question me. And if it's messed up, I made a mistake. But if I listen to you and I fuck up, I fucked up because I listened to you. And that's weak. And you should never think that way. I'm open to your suggestions and I'll take them into consideration. And sometimes you're right. And thank you. But when I'm doing something, it's got to be me, because I can't live with myself if I didn't do it my way. And if someone helps me and I win an award, this award is not mine. This award goes to, Joe Blow over here, who fucking gave me the idea and told me what to do and laid everything out. All I did was implement it. Honestly, I can't take it, right? When I get the award and I did it, now I look at that award every day and it reminds me of all the hard work. And it reminds me that, damn, you did something cool. I look at my book sometimes and I'm just like, I still can't believe I fucking did that. And I can't believe it's on paper. And I still am looking through it. And I remember every moment, I still can't believe how much. The book was supposed to be this thing was supposed to be 130 pages. It's 311 pages because I couldn't take out any pictures. They were all that important. It's nuts. But again, it's that whole, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
All right, Brian, we better, as they say in the podcast industry, we better land this plane, I guess. But
yeah, people's phones aren't even long enough to do this on one charge.
All right. So listen, here's what we kind of close up. So one, the name of the tequila we're talking about is Casa de Sol. So if folks are interested, we're all enjoying it. And so we encourage folks.
Yeah. And also follow us on Instagram, which is at Casa del Sol Tequila.
Yep. Okay. And then you will send us everywhere that people can hook up with you and your stuff, and we'll add that to the show notes on this podcast. So we like to kind of wrap up. So Hidden Pearls, we called it this because we believe that there are people and organizations out there, and we call them Hidden Pearls because they have good in them, and they are trying to, so shall we say, let the elevator go back down, to reach out, to help others. And our motto is about connecting with people through storytelling to help heal and serve the world. So in all of this, because you've seen a lot and been with a lot of different people from high end and otherwise, what are some of the things that in this, maybe just one, that gives you hope in all of this? Like where have you stumbled across maybe a hidden pearl and it makes you optimistic and looking forward to the future?
I mean, if it doesn't sound too stupid, it's the future itself.
Okay.
I'm so excited to see, because even Dances with Your Angels, how it came out of nowhere, then a month later, it's in a gallery on the wall. And people are freaking out over it and talking about how great, and I'm like, it was an experiment that went completely right. And that's how fast it happened. And it came and went almost just as fast. And now what other tricks does the universe in the future have up its sleeve? I'm so excited to see what I am going to do next and how it can affect or help people. What if it's I don't know, what if someone's like, we need your help. We got this thing. And there's an organization out there that's like, you could help us get our message out there. And I'm all over it. How? And if it's something that I know in my heart, oh, here's how we can do this, and here's how it would directly help you. And let's go, let's do it. Like those moments I still wait and live for. Every time I take a picture that I'm like still like freaking out and jumping up and down over, I just love that happens, because there's how many pictures haven't been taken yet? It's never going to end. It's limitless. You know what I mean? And how many are going to be like my cowboy picture? Still, like, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty badass. Like, I will die going, hey, what have you done? Who are you? And I could show them that one picture, and they're like, wait, you shot this? Hooked, no matter who it is. A universal. And I love that I have that photo. When you think of Herb Ritz, you think of all the supermodels held it up on the floor, that famous, iconic photo that the world knows. I want to still hope and think that like someday when I'm older that they're like, oh, Brian Bowen Smith, is it the horse picture? Remember that COVID picture with the horse? No, that's the guy. You know what I mean? Oh, I know that photo. They don't know me from Adam or this and that, but they know that photo, right? That's the thing I love about photography or movies. It's like, I remember that movie where so-and-so, oh yeah, oh my God, I love that movie. What's the name of that again? You don't know, but that movie is in your heart, and it affected you, and it made you cry, or it made you laugh to the point where you remember it vividly. You know what I mean? And pictures stay in your mind. They're burnt in there like that. Even more so the movies, because it's a lot simpler, because it's one thing to think about. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I think that's what keeps me and keeps, I haven't had my hidden pearl yet. Do you know what I mean? But
you've had a few, but you're still on the way.
Yeah, but no, my hidden pearl, it's still hidden. Do you know what I mean? But I'm still digging up every clam that I can, or oyster. Do you know what I mean? And shucking them all till I find it. And what's my car's name?
Pearl.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So so I'll let you wrap up. So I guess just if there's any final thoughts of words of inspiration for our listeners. You've been great. So I really appreciate this. It's been terrific. Really inspiring in the sense of kind of giving back, this notion of doing things that are important and still willing to help others. So appreciate it.
I'll tell you this. If you did listen to the whole thing, then you get a small glimpse of how my brain works. But I will tell you that everything I said is 100% true, and everything I said is 100% sincere. And the opportunity to be on with you guys to get this message out there is it's very dear to my heart. And I really was so excited when you chose me. And I think that what you guys are doing, helping uncover pearls, you know what I mean? I just pray and hope that one day you have the biggest pearl necklace around the world that you could ever imagine. And I love that your passion and what you guys do is, we have the same heart and soul, just we're doing it in different ways. Just like your son, and just like how I fell in love with Jam, your wife, so much that now I've got, 8 new friends, Claire, and it feels like now we've become a family through what you do in life and what I do in life, where our paths would never have crossed maybe. Do you know what I mean? So I think that being a part of things like what you guys do and spreading it throughout the world to maybe inspire other podcasts to get started, or other people to pick up a camera or a football, or jump on a gymnastics bar, or do just whatever, just getting people's mind to stop thinking about the world as a big pain in the ass, and try to figure out how can we all make it better daily with each other. And I think it all starts with just telling someone you love them and you care about them, and just reminding people to be human. And above all else, there's nothing more in this world, and it's free. It's just to start loving one another like you care, and you'll get love back from it. And that's what I've kind of based my love on, is that I'm not this gimmick to where I go and do these things to get people to do all this stuff. I really believe that I treat you the way that I want you to treat me. And I think that that's what makes a world a better place. And don't be afraid to come up to me if you see me. Don't be afraid to DM me and ask questions. There's no dumb questions. everyone has to start from somewhere. And if you don't have someone that helps you, then what good are we? Why do I deserve this gift? And just because you're some kid maybe in the middle of nowhere with no camera, just an iPhone, why would I answer your question? Because you care, because you want help. And when you need help, and we talked about this earlier, is like when I needed help in my life, when I really needed it, when it was important, there were people there to help me and that changed the path of my life. And I'll never forget each and every one of them. And I want to be that person to someone else because it's important. And at the end of the day, they're like, dude, that dude, when I was in a real dark place, that dude helped me. And if it was just a picture and it was easy for me, great. But what that picture did for him, priceless. Do you know what I mean? So thank you for doing what you do and having people like me on that can, hopefully have something to offer and making me realize that I do. How's that?
You do. So, but we thank you very, very much for telling your story. So appreciate that. We'll get all the links and stuff. And so people can follow you on Instagram and otherwise in your website. So we'll put all those pieces on.
Great.
And we greatly appreciate you. Emmy, any closing words? Are you good?
No,
and then we need that.
Jan wants to take a photo of us.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait.
Hold
on, let me get that.
Oh yeah, they're
all right, ready to go, Mom. I'm going.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
No, hold on, go back. No, I have to screen grab this. Go again. Stay with that.
1, 2, 3.
See, now I'm taking pictures with a pen.
See?
That's a great photo. Done.
Thanks, Brian.
Sometimes you just need a bunch of loving people to make a picture amazing.
There you go. Love will rule.
Look at family. Look at this. Look at this family. Good Jesus.
Good Jesus.
Good Jesus. Well, drive safe.
Jesus, Lord.
Tell Shay hi. Happy anniversary.
I will. And thank you guys so much. Love y'all.
All right. Appreciate it.
George, good luck.
Hey, wait. Hey, we always do a donation to our guest charity of choice. I didn't talk to you about that. And so for this week, do you have a charity in mind? And you can tell us later, but if you know one that you would like us to make that donation to, let us know.
What I usually do, as we briefly got into it, when I was little, the biggest issue was food. So I partnered with Feeding America for the donations for my book charities. And I think it's important that if you don't have a good meal and we all get hangry, right? There's no way to live through life like that. So anytime I have any kind of opportunity, I donate to Feeding America, which provides school lunches for underprivileged kids and food for people that need it. And I think that's still, there's so many charities in the world that we wish we could help. But that one, I try to focus on one and always stay towards that to try to make an impact. So anyone that wants to donate or feels like doing something good, just make a donation to Feeding America.
All right. Well,
you can go online and find all that info. And
yep, we'll take care of that. So we'll do our donation to Feeding America for this week, and we appreciate it. So, all right. Be well. Enjoy your Harley ride. Take care. May you be grounded with the Earth Mother and soar like the wind.
Great. And I'll send you a picture of Art the Bear in front of the gallery.
Excellent. All right, we'll put it up.
He's back.
All right, brother.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.
Bye, Ryan.
Thank you so much for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed everything. Like I said, we love Brian, we love Casa del Sol, and we just love the whole team. And feeling very, very grateful to have met these people in this lifetime. So if you are curious about Casa del Sol or any of Brian's work, we'll have all the links in the show notes. You can go to our YouTube or to our podcast. If you want to leave us a comment, I try to get back to all of them, but to make sure that you don't miss any of our episodes, make sure that you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We are always posting different Hidden Pearls podcast shorts, different Mindful Mondays. I'm sharing some different yoga classes, but there's a ton of different options on our YouTube channel. And so make sure that you subscribe so you don't ever miss any of our episodes or classes or workshops that we're putting out. The other thing that you can do is subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And if you're on Apple Podcasts and you leave us a 5-star review, it helps so much to get our message out there. We just really want to make sure that people never feel like they're alone or that it's too late or that they can't chase after their dreams or find their people or just feel better about where they're at in life. And so really this whole theme of the podcast is just making sure that you know that you're not alone and that you have a team behind you. And when you guys subscribe, or when you give us reviews, or when you share our stuff on social media, it helps to get that message out. So if you're doing that already, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We so appreciate it. If we see you at the game this Monday, go Niners. We are so excited. Yeah, this is probably going to be the coolest game ever. So feeling very, very lucky to be here. And yeah, just be safe out there. Like I said, go Niners. My mindfulness class is coming out tomorrow. It's over on my Instagram at Kittle, and we are doing a breathing exercise with the ocean. I filmed this in Cabo, so it is very, very zen. It's beautiful. But either way, love you guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.